Man arrested for the kidnapping and killing of a McKinney woman is now charged with her murder. New court documents reveal the trail of breadcrumbs investigators followed that put O'Caster Ferguson at the center of their investigation into Kayla Kelley's disappearance and death. Records say the two were dating, but Kelley had recently learned Ferguson was married, had given her a fake name, and investigators say she threatened to tell his wife.
Welcome to Crimes Committed. Today's case takes us to Collin County, Texas, where Kayla Kelley, a woman 33, was recently found dead after she went missing for weeks. Kayla was a kind woman with a smile that lit up the whole room and made everyone cherish her company. She was passionate about traveling and also had a profound love for dogs. She had a dog that she loved like her child and would never leave it unattended for an extended period. Her peers respected her a lot and always looked forward to being with her. This fact alone raised concerns, so much so that her friends and coworkers reported Kelley missing when they hadn't heard from her for several days. When her friends, family, and coworkers noticed her uninformed absence, they got distressed for her and filed a missing persons report on January 11th, 2024. The search for Kayla began, and all signs pointed to O'Caster Ferguson, Kayla's boyfriend. Kayla and her boyfriend had a budding romance, but things were grim for some time. On January 11th, Kayla was added to a nationwide database of missing persons. The next day, the Frisco Police Department told the sheriff's office that Kayla's car had been found burned and abandoned on a rural county road in a remote area with a dead end. The search for Kayla continued, and a local nonprofit organization called Search One Rescue Team assisted with this search. They were called out twice to assist law enforcement in looking for Kayla. Paul Lake, the team's founder, explained that they couldn't share specific details about where they searched because it might affect the investigation, and kept it all hidden until the case was open to the public completely. However, he emphasized that public tips were crucial in solving cases like this. Sometimes people might have seen or known something important without realizing it. Even after Kayla's car was found, there was still no sign of Kayla herself. The car didn't give any clue about her location, as the car was barely recognizable. The Collin County Sheriff's Office, like all her friends and coworkers, identified O'Caster Ferguson as a person of interest. They didn't explain how he was connected to the case, but they did arrest him for kidnapping and arson. The sheriff's department kept many case details private to avoid interfering with the investigation. They continuously encouraged anyone with information about Ferguson or who had seen or interacted with him recently to come forward, hoping this information would help find Kayla. Anyone who knew about Kayla's whereabouts was asked to contact the Collin County Sheriff's Office by phone or text. Detectives looked at the car but failed to find clues about where Kayla might be. They then went to her home on Jet Drive in McKinney and saw she wasn't there either. Inside her home, they found her dog, without food and water for several days. Her family said Kayla loved her dog like her child and would never leave it alone for that long, indicating the unthinkable.
And we begin tonight with breaking news. In the last 90 minutes, we learned a body has been found just minutes away from the home of the man accused of kidnapping a missing Collin County woman. It has been a week since Kayla Kelley was reported missing.
Yeah, authorities recently found her car in a remote area of Frisco, abandoned and burned beyond recognition. And now there's been a potential development in Grand Prairie.
On January 18th, after a lot of hard work, Kayla Kelley's body was found near the home of O'Caster Ferguson, the man she had been dating. The 33-year-old's body, which was identified by the Tarrant County Medical Examiner, was found in a shallow grave less than a mile from the home of the man accused of kidnapping her. And upon finding her body, Sheriff Jim Skinner, referring to Ferguson, said that they believed the person responsible for Kelley's murder was already under arrest. Ferguson, who had already been arrested for kidnapping during the investigation, was also charged with murder. He was jailed with a $1 million bond. Ferguson had also faced an additional charge of arson from the Frisco Police Department. During their investigation, detectives discovered that Kayla planned to confront her boyfriend, Kevin. because she discovered his real name was Ocaster Ferguson and that he was married. Kayla had told her friends she wanted to blackmail him and tell his wife and other lovers about his tactics. But since her friends didn't want to talk about her being with a married man, they didn't talk about it much. The affidavit of Ocaster's arrest stated that phone records showed Kelley had been speaking with Ferguson. A background check on Ferguson revealed that his wife had recently reported their vehicle as stolen. Near Kelley's home, they discovered the vehicle with gloves, duct tape, and a blanket inside. It revealed that Kelley's phone was last used on January 10th at 6:59 p.m. near Ferguson's workplace in Dallas. Records also showed her vehicle on the Dallas North Tollway in Frisco early that morning. When investigators interviewed Ferguson at his workplace on January 13th, he admitted to knowing Kelley and said they had been dating since the summer of 2022. Moreover, he said he last saw her on January 10th when she dropped him off at work around noon. He claimed she was supposed to bring him lunch at 6 p.m. but never showed up. Upon being asked about his vehicle, he said that it was near Kelley's home because he hid it from his wife. Ferguson admitted to meeting Kelley online and using a fake name. He said they met at Kelley's home and other places to date, but never at his home since it was an extramarital affair. Kelley eventually learned his real identity and the fact that he was married. Phone records also show details of Ferguson's movements on January 10th. He left work, went home to Grand Prairie, then drove to Kelley's home area, then to the location where her burned vehicle was found, and then returned to Grand Prairie. In a later interview, Ferguson denied his presence in the area where Kelley's vehicle was found and claimed that he didn't know about what had happened. In an unthinkable turn of events, he also said that Kelley was in the back seat of his car, but he didn't know what happened to her. Investigators searched Ferguson's home and spoke to his wife, who mentioned receiving a text from an unknown person on January 4th wanting to talk to her. But since her phone was broken, investigators couldn't get the number. Based on the evidence, investigators believed Ferguson intentionally and knowingly abducted Kayla Kelley and arrested him on a kidnapping charge. A deeper look into Ferguson's phone records showed that he had traveled to a wooded area near his home in Grand Prairie. Acting on this information, investigators went to that specific area and discovered Kayla Kelley's body buried in a shallow grave on 18th of January 2024. In addition to this, investigators found that cell phone records placed Ferguson near the location of Kelley's burned car in Frisco. Surveillance footage from that time showed smoke rising in the early morning hours, suggesting a fire had occurred. After burning the car, the records indicated that Ferguson used a ride-share service to return to his home in Grand Prairie. Furthermore, investigations also revealed that Ferguson had a lighter and a gas can on January 10th during the day. This information further linked him to the crime and helped the investigators piece together his movements on the night of the incident. The court trials began to get Kelley the due justice. It kicked off with talks from local and state police, Kayla Kelley's cousin, and Ferguson's wife. Ocaster Ferguson sat motionless as the judge announced the jury's decision: guilty. The jury, composed of 7 men and 6 women, had discussed for about an hour before reaching their unanimous verdict. Following the guilty verdict, the trial proceeded to the sentencing phase. Ferguson, now facing the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars, took the stand in a surprising turn of events. He claimed innocence, stating that 3 men had kidnapped him on the night of Kelley's death, insinuating that they were the ones responsible for her murder. However, the jury remained unconvinced by Ferguson's testimony. They listened intently as prosecutors presented evidence linking him to the crime, including cell phone records and surveillance footage. Kelley's colleagues at Raytheon contacted her family after she had not come to work for 3 days, and they contacted the authorities. Prosecutors and a Texas Rangers investigator mentioned that Ferguson's attempt to make an excuse led to his capture. Information recovered from Ferguson's phone and examined by detectives from both local and state police departments directed them to Kelley's body in January 2023, 1 week after she went missing. Ferguson, aged 33, was accused of killing Kelley, burning her car in Frisco, and hiding her in a forested area less than half a mile from his home in Grand Prairie. Police discovered Kelley, also 33, in a shallow grave lying face down and unclothed. Prosecutors claimed that Kayla Kelley was murdered after discovering her boyfriend was married and then informing his wife about their affair, which led to the court calling the suspect's wife for the testimony. According to the findings of the medical examiner, Kelley was suffocated with an unidentified object. The medical examiner also said that most of Kelley's injuries were to her neck. The state's presented timeline suggested what might have led to Kelley's murder in the early hours of January 10, 2023. The police believed that Kelley took Ferguson's phone at 2:29 a.m. and began sending messages to other women he was reportedly seeing, stating, "This is his girlfriend. He also has a wife. I know. I'm just as shocked as you." That was the last communication from Kelley. 2 hours later, according to mobile phone data and surveillance footage, only Kelley's car and Ferguson's phone were seen leaving her home. Throughout the morning and day, Ferguson was spotted at a Walmart, where he was seen carrying a gas can, then at a gas station purchasing gas and a lighter with cash. Ferguson was later caught on camera at his workplace in Grand Prairie holding 3 phones, one of which belonged to Kelley. He then sent multiple texts expressing concern when Kelley didn't respond to his "baby, where are you" text or bring him lunch. Afterwards, Ferguson left work without clocking out and went to a wooded area near his home, where he continued to message his lover. This was his way of creating a fake alibi. Prosecutors also presented records of a new Lyft account Ferguson created to order a ride home after setting her SUV on fire and abandoning it in rural Frisco. Ferguson's wife, Latrina Chandler, testified for the defense. She told jurors she met Ferguson in Jamaica in 2010, where he worked at a hotel. She said that after they married in 2018, she began to suspect infidelity. She testified that occasionally women would show up at her house looking for him, and she would make O'Caster sleep in the backyard or his car in anger. But she justified it by saying that O'Caster is young and men cheat. She also said that despite being a cheater, O'Caster would never hurt a fly, and murder was far from his upbringing. She believed other people were involved in Kelley's disappearance and mentioned telling Detective Fitzpatrick about a man threatening Ferguson with a gun, but the detective didn't seem interested in her information. Fitzpatrick later testified that they didn't consider the information credible. After hours of grueling testimony, the jury found him guilty, and the sentence, life in prison. As Ferguson was led away to begin his life sentence, the courtroom fell silent. The trial may have come to a close, but the memory of Kayla Kelley would live on, a reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic violence and betrayal. Unfortunately, cases like these are becoming more common, and women should always do their due diligence when selecting a mate. Our thoughts and prayers are with Kayla Kelley's family, and we hope no one has to face the trauma of losing their loved ones. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and ring the bell icon for more stories.